The Art of Silence. 5 Secrets You Should Keep from Your Family After 65. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question, one that might make you uncomfortable but is worth reflecting on. Have you ever said something in a moment of frustration or vulnerability that later made you think, I wish I had just kept that to myself? Not because it was untrue, but because it shifted the balance of your relationships in ways you never intended. As we age, we accumulate wisdom, but we also accumulate regrets. One of the greatest regrets people express in their later years is revealing too much, giving away pieces of themselves that should have remained sacred. Contrary to popular belief, not everything needs to be shared. Not every thought, worry, or burden should be handed over to those around you, even if they are family. There are things, 5, to be exact, that a wise person should learn to keep to themselves. If you don't, you may find yourself in a position where you are no longer seen as strong, no longer respected, and perhaps even no longer truly heard. Today, we'll walk through these 5 things, not to deceive, but to preserve, not to push others away, but to protect the dignity and peace that become more valuable than gold as you grow older. 1. Your deepest regrets. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. As the years pass, it becomes even clearer how certain choices could have led to different outcomes. It's natural to want to express these regrets, to share them with family in the hope that doing so will bring relief or closure. However, unloading your deepest regrets onto your loved ones can have unintended consequences, ones that may harm your relationships and place an unnecessary emotional burden on those who care about you. When a parent or elder reveals their biggest regrets, particularly to their children, it can shift the way they see themselves. A father who confesses that he wishes he had pursued a different career may unknowingly cause his children to doubt their own career paths. A mother who expresses regret over a past relationship or a lost opportunity may make her children question whether their own lives were built on a foundation of mistakes. The weight of knowing that someone they admire has lived with such deep remorse can make them feel as if they are a product of failure rather than love. Furthermore, dwelling on the past too openly can take away from the present. When someone constantly speaks about what could have been, it creates an atmosphere of sadness and longing rather than appreciation for what still remains. Family members may start to feel as though their presence is not enough to bring joy, or that their efforts to support and care for their aging loved one are being overshadowed by unresolved pain. Instead of strengthening bonds, excessive sharing of regrets can build walls, making conversations feel heavier than they need to be. There's also the risk of shifting from reflection to bitterness. Expressing regret should ideally be an act of learning and growth, but when it turns into repeated conversations about disappointment, it can cause strain. Family members may begin to withdraw, not because they don't care, but because they feel powerless to change the past. Psychological insight. According to Carl Jung, the renowned psychologist, unresolved regrets can become part of our shadow self, the parts of our psyche we suppress or ignore. While acknowledging these regrets is important, sharing them indiscriminately can project our inner turmoil onto others, creating emotional chaos in relationships. 2. Your financial situation. Financial matters are deeply personal, and while honesty is important, there is a fine line between transparency and oversharing. Revealing too much about your financial situation, whether it's struggles or success, can create unnecessary complications within a family. Money has a unique way of altering relationships, often in ways that people don't anticipate. What seems like an innocent conversation about financial difficulties or wealth can subtly shift how others perceive you, and, in some cases, it can even lead to unintended consequences that strain family dynamics. Discussing financial hardships too openly can cause undue stress and worry among family members. Children, no matter their age, may feel obligated to help or carry the burden of their parents' struggles, sometimes at the expense of their own well-being. A grown child who hears repeated concerns about money might begin making financial sacrifices to assist, even when they can't afford to. Over time, this can create resentment, not because they don't care, but because they may feel trapped between their own responsibilities and the expectation to support their parents. On the other hand, revealing too much about financial success can also bring unexpected challenges. Family members may develop a sense of entitlement, assuming that because you are well off, they are owed assistance or inheritance. This can weaken their own sense of independence, as they may begin relying on the idea that they will be taken care of rather than building their own financial stability. Psychological insight. Behavioral economists like Daniel Kahneman have shown that money is not just a financial tool but also a psychological one. It influences our sense of security, self-worth, and even our relationships. By oversharing financial details, we risk turning these relationships into transactional exchanges rather than emotional connections. 3. Your unfiltered opinions about family members. Family relationships are complex, and personal opinions about certain family members can be just as complicated. It might seem natural to express your true thoughts about someone within the family, especially when emotions are high or frustrations build up over time. However, openly sharing your unfiltered opinions, particularly negative ones, can have lasting consequences that extend far beyond the initial conversation. Words once spoken cannot be taken back, and they have the power to reshape relationships in ways that are difficult to repair. One of the biggest risks in voicing strong opinions about a family member is the division it can create. If a parent expresses disappointment in a son-in-law or frustration with a daughter's choices, that sentiment does not simply disappear once it is said. Instead, it lingers, influencing how relationships develop moving forward. For example, consider a scenario where a mother openly criticizes her daughter's parenting style. While the mother may believe she is offering constructive advice, the daughter may perceive it as an attack on her competence as a parent. This can lead to defensiveness, resentment, and even estrangement over time. The daughter may begin to distance herself emotionally, fearing further judgment, and the mother may feel shut out, not understanding why her well-intentioned advice was met with hostility. Psychological insight. According to family systems theory, developed by Murray Bowen, families operate as emotional units. When one member expresses a strong negative opinion, it can create a ripple effect, disrupting the entire family's emotional balance. For instance, if a father openly criticizes his son's career choices, this can lead to tension not only between the father and son but also between the son and his siblings, who may feel pressured to take sides. The family system thrives on interconnectedness, and any disruption in one relationship can reverberate throughout the entire network. Moreover, unfiltered opinions can reinforce negative stereotypes or biases within the family. For example, if a grandparent frequently makes disparaging remarks about a grandchild's academic performance, this can create a self-fulfilling prophecy where the child internalizes the criticism and begins to believe they are incapable of success. Over time, this can erode the child's self-esteem and hinder their ability to reach their full potential. It's also important to consider the long-term impact of such conversations on family gatherings and traditions. Negative opinions, once expressed, can cast a shadow over family events, making them feel tense or uncomfortable. For instance, if a sibling openly criticizes another sibling's lifestyle choices during a holiday dinner, this can create an atmosphere of judgment and hostility that lingers long after the event is over. Family members may begin to dread gatherings, fearing that they will be subjected to criticism or conflict. To navigate these challenges, it's essential to practice empathy and restraint when discussing sensitive topics with family members. Instead of voicing unfiltered opinions, consider framing your thoughts in a way that is constructive and supportive. For example, rather than saying, "You're making a huge mistake," you could say, "I'm concerned about this decision because I care about you. Can we talk about it?" This approach fosters open communication without creating unnecessary conflict. Ultimately, the goal should be to preserve the emotional well-being of the family unit while still addressing important issues. By choosing your words carefully and considering the potential impact of your opinions, you can maintain strong, healthy relationships with your loved ones. 4. Your health concerns. Health is a deeply personal matter, and as people age, it naturally becomes a more frequent topic of conversation. It is understandable to want to share concerns with family, especially when facing difficulties. However, there is a fine balance between keeping loved ones informed and overwhelming them with constant discussion of ailments. One of the unintended consequences of frequently talking about health problems is that it can change the relationship dynamic from one of respect to one of pity. Instead of being seen as the strong and wise figure you have always been, you may start being viewed primarily through the lens of illness or frailty. For example, if a grandparent constantly discusses their chronic pain or mobility issues, their grandchildren may begin to see them as fragile and vulnerable, rather than as a source of guidance and wisdom. This shift in perception can have a profound impact on family dynamics. Loved ones may start to treat you differently, perhaps becoming overly protective or hesitant to involve you in activities they think might be too strenuous. While their intentions may be good, this can lead to feelings of isolation and frustration on your part. You may feel as though you are no longer seen as a capable and independent individual, but rather as someone who needs constant care and supervision. Psychological insight. The nocebo effect, a psychological phenomenon, suggests that focusing excessively on health problems can exacerbate symptoms and create a self-fulfilling prophecy of decline. When individuals constantly talk about their ailments, they may inadvertently reinforce negative beliefs about their health, leading to increased anxiety and even physical symptoms. For example, someone who frequently complains about back pain may become hyper-aware of every twinge and ache, leading to a heightened perception of pain and a reduced ability to engage in physical activity. Additionally, sharing health concerns too frequently can place an emotional burden on family members, particularly those who serve as caregivers. While it's important to communicate your needs, it's equally important to recognize the toll that caregiving can take on loved ones. Constantly discussing your health problems can leave them feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and even resentful, especially if they feel powerless to help. To strike a balance, consider setting boundaries around health-related conversations. For example, you might designate specific times to discuss your health, such as during family meetings or medical appointments, rather than bringing it up in every interaction. This allows you to keep loved ones informed without overwhelming them. It's also helpful to focus on solutions rather than problems. Instead of dwelling on the challenges you're facing, try to emphasize the steps you're taking to manage your health. For instance, you might say, "I've started physical therapy, and it's helping me feel stronger," rather than, "I'm in so much pain all the time." This shift in focus can empower both you and your family members, fostering a sense of hope and resilience. Finally, remember that your health is just one aspect of who you are. While it's important to address your concerns, it's equally important to maintain a sense of identity beyond your ailments. Engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment, and encourage your family members to see you as a whole person, not just someone who is struggling with health issues. 5. Your fears about the future. Fear is a natural part of life, especially as people grow older and face uncertainties about the future. It is tempting to share these fears with family, hoping for reassurance or comfort. However, doing so too frequently or too openly can have unintended consequences. One of the dangers of openly sharing fears about the future is that it can instill a sense of helplessness in those who care about you. Family members, especially children, want to see their elders as sources of wisdom and stability. When they hear repeated expressions of fear, whether about declining health, financial insecurity, or being alone, they may feel powerless to provide any real solutions. For example, if a parent frequently expresses anxiety about running out of money in retirement, their adult children may feel pressured to step in and provide financial support, even if they are not in a position to do so. This can create tension and resentment, as the children may feel torn between their desire to help and their own financial responsibilities. Psychological insight. According to existential psychology, fear of the future is rooted in our awareness of mortality. While it's natural to feel this fear, constantly voicing it can create a sense of existential anxiety in others, disrupting their emotional well-being. For instance, if a grandparent frequently talks about their fear of dying, their grandchildren may become preoccupied with thoughts of loss and mortality, leading to increased anxiety and distress. Moreover, sharing fears about the future can create a sense of pessimism within the family. If a parent constantly expresses doubts about their ability to cope with aging, their children may begin to view the future with dread, rather than hope. This can have a ripple effect, influencing the family's overall outlook on life and their ability to face challenges with resilience. To address these concerns, it's important to find healthy ways to cope with your fears. Consider seeking support from a therapist or counselor, who can help you explore your feelings and develop strategies for managing anxiety. This can provide a safe space to express your concerns without placing an emotional burden on your family. When discussing fears with loved ones, try to focus on solutions rather than problems. For example, instead of saying, "I'm terrified of being alone," you might say, "I've been thinking about ways to stay connected as I get older." Like joining a community group or volunteering. This approach shifts the conversation from fear to empowerment, fostering a sense of hope and possibility. Finally, remember that your fears are just one part of your story. While it's important to acknowledge them, it's equally important to celebrate the positive aspects of your life and the relationships that bring you joy. By focusing on gratitude and resilience, you can inspire your family members to face the future with courage and optimism. This expanded version provides a deeper exploration of each topic, incorporating psychological insights, real-life examples, and practical advice to help readers navigate these complex issues. The goal is to foster understanding and encourage thoughtful communication within families. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you found this video valuable, please share it with someone who might benefit. Until next time, take care of your mind, your heart, and the relationships that matter most.